Hi, I'm Pat Croce, and you're watching ACS Healed. Today, we're revisiting one of our favorite of many gatherings over the past year. We hope you enjoy this special gathering filled with real life stories of inspiration, motivation, and survivorship from cancer survivors themselves and experts from the American Cancer Society. We look forward to seeing you on May 4th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for our next ACS Healed live gathering. Until then, stay connected with ACS Healed at 6abc.com and acshealed.com. Welcome. Hi, I'm Pat Croce, and this is American Cancer Society's Healed Community Gathering. And I want to first thank our presenting sponsor, 6ABC, all of our leadership partners, and you, every one of you who've registered at acshealed.com and are part of our community. Thank you. Thank you. And if you haven't registered, please go to acshealed.com and make sure you register. We'd like to see you here every week. And before we get started, I like to have a moment of stillness. That's right, a moment of stillness. So just place your attention on this way cool bell, okay? And just listen to the sound of the bell. That sound is just the present moment. No past, no future. Let's leave the past in the past and enter into this community gathering just with your aware presence. All of us sharing the same space for the next 60 minutes. Okay, for the next 60 minutes, it's just you and I and our wonderful guest. And we have some, you're going to love today's guest. This is our fourth community gathering so far. And you're going to love today's guest. We're going to start with, and please welcome, Natasha Coleman. Natasha works for the ACS in the Northeast region, located here in Philadelphia. And she is a health leader. She's one of those ones behind the trenches. You don't hear anything about her, but she's all about prevention. Truly, she's that one person who adheres to Ben Franklin's call, prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You'll love Natasha because she's going to talk about screening. She's going to talk about all kinds of ways that we can prevent and take care of those who have cancer, and a term that's relatively new that I think she'll help explain to me and others called health equity.
First, thank you for inviting me. And of course, I really appreciate the partnership we have with you, with the American Cancer Society. I've been with the American Cancer Society now 20 years. So my current role is the Senior Director for our Cancer Control Strategic Partnerships team here in the Northeast region, like you said, Pat. And so I've been real passionate. My background is in public health. I'm really passionate about and dedicating to addressing health disparities. Really looking at how I started at working here at the American Cancer Society is really looking at how we reach those who are unreachable, who have really need the message, need to raise the awareness around their health behaviors. And like you said, prevention is key. And so the work and the theme and the goal of our work here at the Cancer Society is really reaching those who have not been reached and reach with our message to raise their awareness around that.
Natasha, you said a passionate purpose. So how did you generate this passionate purpose?
That's a good question, Pat. I think it's just always been in me. It's the way I was raised, is always to look out for your neighbors and look out for those around you in your community. For me, I always knew that healthcare and the public health space were really important to me, because you see folks in your family, in your circle, especially within the Black community, who have been targeted, of course, with certain health lifestyles or diagnosis or those types of things, that unfortunately there is that disproportionate rate of certain health issues or challenges, chronic diseases that affect more of a population than others. And so it's an opportunity, of course, with the work that I do and the work that our team does at the American Cancer Society, is really working with our partners who address some of those key areas and really focus in on those community members that really need the most care.
So who are your partners?
So for here at the American Cancer Society, our partners are health systems partners, right? We are a global organization. We work with, through our volunteers. So that has been our biggest ambassadors at the American Cancer Society since its inception. But within the cancer control space, we really work through partnerships. So it could be our hospital systems, our cancer centers, our federal qualified health centers, which are community health centers within the community. It could be primary care practices, and it could be our state agencies. So those agencies within, like in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, or throughout any of our state agencies, are health departments. So they really are kind of the overseer of all of the health delivery within that state. So we work with any of those health state agencies as well too. And in addition to our health plans, right? So our health insurers are definitely our true champions when it comes to delivering healthcare on a health equitable basis.
Define for me health equitable basis or health equity. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so when we look at health equity, it's something that the American Cancer Society is driving for. It's something that we're committed to. So health equity, when we say that, it means that everyone has a fair and equal chance to be treated by cancer, to be diagnosed with cancer, and of course, survive cancer. So no matter where you live, your racial or ethnic background, you all should have a fair ethnic chance to prevent, treat, of course, and survive cancer. And what that looks like really, it means that we have to customize the way we deliver care. It needs to meet the need of the community, right? So it can't be a cookie cutter approach. So how we address healthcare delivery systems looks much differently in the suburbs of South Jersey than it does in North Philadelphia. It looks differently. And it's because of the community that we serve. It's because of the health behaviors, traditions, cultural traditions, those types of things. It needs to really meet the needs of the community. And so,
can you paint a picture for us?
Yeah.
On color that picture, and what would be the difference of a suburb of South Jersey versus North Philly?
Yeah, I mean, it could be just the access of care, right? So when you look at folks who may not have access to equitable care within their community, so maybe they depend on the emergency room for their care, where if they don't have insurance, they may be underinsured, they may not have adequate insurance, they may not have a regular primary care physician to really kind of manage their overall care. And so when they only seek care or seek benefits from the healthcare system is only when they are sick, right? So they don't go for any prevention or any screenings or any annual checkups that I think most people are used to when you do have a primary care physician. If you are working and you have your health benefits, and especially when your job recommends that you get an annual health checkup or annual screening, you're going to that annual, it's part of your routine, right? But when it's not part of your routine and you're only sitting in an emergency room only when you're sick and you spend hours upon hours in an emergency room, that's not really a way to really kind of ensure there's a continuity of care when it comes to your healthcare. You really need to have a medical home, and you need to have someone who can kind of shepherd you through and navigate you through that system of care.
So what can our community know and do to help this shepherding?
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't already, so anyone who's listening, or of course, reaching out to with anyone in your circle or your network individually, really asking someone, when was the last time you went to your primary care doctor? When was the last time you had a conversation with your primary care doctor about your care, right? Or about your health? It doesn't need to be about cancer screening, but about your overall general health. I think if anything, COVID has taught us is that it really shine a spotlight on those who are a part of a medical system, who are able to seek care quickly when they saw symptoms regarding COVID. And so it really brought to light that there are some folks who may not have a medical home, and how important it is to have a primary care doctor within that system and be a part of that system. Because I think really what's important is that any ailments, any symptoms, anything that might come up, or any questions that you may have, I think it's important for everyone listening to reach out to their healthcare provider at least once a year, at least, and just to have that conversation on what else is going on within your care and what behaviors you can implement that are healthy, right? That, so at the American Cancer Society, we definitely recommend, right, nutrition and physical activity, really looking at what you eat and how you are more active within your daily lifestyle. So those are some of the things, and you talk about that as well, Pat, I know in past calls. So those are some of the things that, not just about your health, but your health behaviors, right? And really looking at how do you change your health behavior and how do you have that really ongoing communication with your healthcare provider.
Natasha, I love your questioning, because if we don't question individuals, when is the last time you met
Yeah.
with your healthcare provider? What are you eating? What are you doing to stay active? These
Yeah.
questions at least raise some question marks in the person's mind where they'd never thought of. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
How do we lead them to a healthcare provider, or how do these our partners with the American Cancer Society open the window so they? Hi, I'm Pat Croce, and you're watching ACS Healed. Today, we're revisiting one of our favorite of many gatherings over the past year. We hope you enjoy this special gathering filled with real-life stories of inspiration, motivation, and survivorship from cancer survivors themselves and experts from the American Cancer Society. We look forward to seeing you on May 4th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for our next ACS Healed live gathering. Until then, stay connected with ACS Healed at 6abc.com and acshealed.com. See what's available.
Yeah. I think it's really taking a step back and understanding the community and the community you're trying to reach, because I think culturally, there are certain cultural traditions and misconceptions or preconceived notions around what the healthcare community does or should do within that community. And so it is really important to understand that there may be some ethnic or cultural groups or communities that do not trust the healthcare system. And so we have to be very mindful of that. So we have to be mindful that there are a way to build that trust with the healthcare system. So there are doctors that reflect or look like the communities they serve. So our physicians are getting much better on being more diverse and culturally sensitive to how they deliver care. And so for us at the American Cancer Society, we really work very closely with our health systems partners to really ensure that the way they deliver care, we provide best practices or evidence-based strategies is what we call them. So we help them to say, are there little things that you can implement within your practice that could address some of the barriers that we're hearing? And it could be something as small as extending appointment times, right? Only offering appointment times during the 9 to 5 period may not be conducive to everyone who works a 9 to 5 job, who does not have the flexibility to take off time from work, right? And they have childcare issues, or they have different issues. Maybe they work hourly and they're not able to do that, right? And so what we say to them is, can they schedule a mammogram at 6 p.m.? Are there Saturdays appointments to get a colonoscopy, right? So these are some of the things that make it easier for your patients within your community, really knowing what they are struggling with or some of the barriers to getting care, and making small changes, make small changes within their system to really kind of address some of those barriers that we're seeing.
Well, I love it. Small changes make such a big difference.
Mhm.
And how are they responding to these small changes?
So when we go to our healthcare partners, we let them know that these are what we call our evidence-based efforts, or just examples that we know that's out there. Either it's from the American Cancer Society or from the Centers of Disease Control, the CDC, and they're open to it. And what we say is, we're not trying to make huge changes. What we do is we work with them, we work with their system. And you have to know, it's not just the physician, right? So when you work at a medical practice, everyone is a part of that. Everyone's a part of that practice. So from the minute you walk in the door, to the receptionist who greets you, to the nursing staff, to the social worker or the navigator, they are all part of that medical team in that practice. So when we meet with that practice, it's a full conversation. It's not just with the physician, because they are all that physician's champions, right? Those ambassadors, they all play a part in ensuring that patients don't fall through the cracks.
Oh, I love that. You don't know how much that team approach resonates with me. Natasha, when I used to be a physical therapist and had physical therapy centers, every person that came in, they had to follow all of our staff a 10 commandments, we called it, of customer service.
Yep.
And first one was first name basis, unless they had an honorific, a doctor or something. But
Yep.
from the secretary to the assistant to the
Everyone.
trainer to everyone, so that when that person comes in, they hear the music to their ears,
Yep.
their first name, and it never gets lost. So now they become part of the community. And so you're training or you're educating these systems to start as a team.
As a
Let
team.
the entire team grasp a patient or a potential patient
Yes.
who comes in, even without an illness, for prevention.
Yeah,
That I just love that, because a lot of people are hands off and they'd rather not see someone who doesn't feel comfortable with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, you know, we know that there's fears when it comes to the healthcare system, and especially with hospital systems. You know, we try to talk to the hospital system, especially to encourage them to do educational programs outside of the hospital system, because there are, you know, there's triggers. Sometimes you lost a family member or someone close to you in that hospital, and you may have bad experiences, right? And so really getting into the community and speaking to them and having them understand that care can be delivered within the hospital system in a setting, or of course in a small practice like a community health center. But really understanding the triggers within that community and letting them know that, listen, it's all about becoming inclusive, right? And really like you said, incorporating the patient within the setting and making sure that they're at the center of that care. That's their care.
They are the sun. We're just the stars that circulate around that sun. So I know you have a 2-word mantra: get screened.
Yes.
Tell me about your purpose, this passionate purpose with the ACS in making sure that people understand the importance of getting screened.
Yeah. So, you know, the American Cancer Society, we've always been a huge advocate for screening and prevention and early detection of cancer in its earliest stages. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic last year in 2020, most of us, regardless of where you sat or where you lived, most of us were asked to either postpone or cancel our elective appointments or procedures because of COVID, right? So we knew that a lot of our practices shut down, our hospitals shut down. So that really threw off many people's screening schedules. Most of our cancer screenings are done on an annual basis. And most of our cancer screenings, what we say is the earlier you are screened, the better you are, of course, to survive cancer, or cancer is detected in its earliest stages, right?
Say it again. Natasha,
so the earlier you screen,
Say it again, nice and loud. Go ahead.
So the earlier you're screened, the earlier we can diagnose cancer, and your treatment options are higher, right? So you have more treatment options when we are able to diagnose your cancer as early as possible. And that only comes through regular screenings. And so if you are already late with your screening schedule and 2020 put you further off your schedule, there is a huge urgency now, not only with the American Cancer Society, but it is a national campaign, the Get Screened campaign, is to get people back on their screening schedule. So now more than ever, if we can do nothing else after today's session, Pat, is for everyone to remember, where are you with your screening schedule? If you're over 40, you can go to the cancer.org, which is our American Cancer Society's website, but really get back on screening, making sure, did you get your mammogram, ladies? Right? Are you due for a colonoscopy?
When are people due for a colonoscopy?
So right now it's after the age of 45 and over for average risk patients, men and women over the age of 45 should start to have that conversation around getting a colon screening. Colonoscopy is just one of the screening modalities, one screening technique, but you should have that conversation with your primary care physician about getting a colon screening.
And if you don't have a primary physician, what should you do?
So there's many resources out there in the community. So your community health centers, you can of course call your local hospital, because they have centers within the hospital that are clinics that can see patients depending on where you live. So there's different resources that are out there, regardless of your insurance status or where you live, that will be able to see you. And so it's really important for us all to say, this is where we need to be. You need to get back on your screening schedule. 2020 threw us off schedule, but now in 2021, you yourself take a look and say, what appointments do I need to schedule this year? Don't let a whole year pass again, right? And then speak to your circle. All of your loved ones in your network, your mother, your father, your aunts, uncles, your brothers, sisters, everyone in that circle should be also, you should remind them, where are you with your cancer screening schedule? Do you need to make an appointment? Did you delay your appointment last year? And most of the time they'll say, you're so right. I forgot. I had to postpone my appointment and I never rescheduled. So those are the things that we need to all do, is really to get back on track with our screening schedule.
Natasha, such great advice, because I was a culprit too. I don't really want to go back to the dermatologist. I just saw her in October and they diagnosed T-cell lymphoma. And my schedule was coming up just a couple of weeks ago. And I said, I really don't want to go. But I went. I go twice a year to the dermatologist because I have all these little things that have to be taken off. Well, they found a basal cell carcinoma at my left ankle on my shin. The scary part was I had a motorcycle accident in '99, and that muscle flap, my serratus anterior, transplanted from my shoulder down to my ankle.
Yeah.
The basal cell carcinoma was spreading in the scar tissue coming up. So if I wasn't screened, and I just thought maybe I nicked it, and I couldn't see well anyway. Now I got like this big $50 open wound, but what would have happened if I didn't get screened? I'm at fault. So I understand why people don't necessarily want to go. Well, I was just there. I want to put it off. Don't put it off.
Don't put it off. And I think, one of the things to be aware of, and you kind of touched on it, Pat, is just because you're not showing symptoms, just because you're not sick, does not mean you do not need to get screened. So you may have put your screening schedule off in 2020, but thinking, I feel good, nothing's wrong with me, all good. That doesn't mean anything. You could have a cancer diagnosis and not show any symptoms. You could have a cancer diagnosis and not be physically sick.
You have a term for that you should.
Yes. So I give credit to Dr. Richard Wender. He's our former Chief Cancer Control Officer, the unworried well. So when you are still feeling like you are well and healthy, but you're just unworried because you're just going through your life, your normal schedule on your day-to-day schedule. And that's also for those folks who are insured, have great jobs, may do well, right, within their lives and their careers, but they think their health is not something that they want to take a priority, right? And so sometimes our efforts and our focus is always looking at those in the, kind of those that are affected by cancer burden. So, right, those communities that are the medically underserved, medically uninsured, and that's also very key for us. But we also have to look at everyone in that unworried well population, those that are doing well, going about their business, living their life, juggling, working moms, and those types of things. Take the time to make your appointments. Call your primary care doctor, get your annual checkup this year, make your appointments for your cancer screenings this year.
And that's for each and every one of you.
Everyone,
and spread the
men
word.
and women.
Last week we had Natasha on, a Dr. Nick Danubli, an orthopedic surgeon who specializes in sports medicine, a good friend of mine, a brilliant man. He realized, coming from the gathering here, that he has to have his screening. He doesn't necessarily go to a dermatologist often. Well, he didn't say when, but he said, I've learned something today.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to everyone? You just really gave the gospel according to Natasha, but is there anything else? And don't go too far because we have, this great couple coming on. And if you'd like to join in and ask them anything, please do. What would you like to leave our community gathering with?
For everyone listening, two things. One, call your primary care physician to get back on your screening schedule. And number two, reach out to someone within your network, someone within your loved circle, someone you care about, and remind them that it's time to get their screening schedule back on track. So get screened. Make 2 phone calls, one to your own doctor and one to someone else that you care about.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Pass it down. I love it. And I just had a run. I had to run over to the refrigerator and bring out these blueberries. Natasha, I really did, because 2 weeks ago, I talked about water, how important water is to hydrate yourself, because health and energy through active living every day. So how do you become more energized? Well, you need water.
Yep.
And then last week, I think I talked about apples. Only 95 calories, almost 5 grams of fiber, helps you keep regular. It's great for lowering your cholesterol. So today it's blueberries, blueberries. Now, a full cup is 85 calories. Now, myself, I use just about a third of a cup, and I put them in my yogurt. These are probably known as the superfood blueberries because they have tons of vitamins and minerals, probiotics, bioflavonoids. They're just a great form, lots of water, 85, 90% water. I also put them on my salads. We call it a crunchy salad when my wife makes it. Everything goes in it in the kitchen sink, and there's pistachios, and it's really a rainbow salad. It's got every color, orange from the carrots and blue from the blueberries. But I want everyone to add this to their diet and just give it a try. I mean, a third of it is only about 30 calories, but they're great calories. They're nothing you have to be concerned about.
Yeah, they are.
This is our first community gathering where we have a couple, and I've asked them to come on together, but I think we have separate windows. Oh, no, they're together. Jamil and Rick Rivers. Ricky Rivers. Now, tonight, you may know that I'm going to ring the bell at the 76ers game. It's the second playoff game the Sixers are playing against the Washington Wizards. And so I'm going to go down. It's 20 years since I've been on before, when we were back in the finals. And so I know a lot of heroes. I know a lot of courageous athletes. They can't shine the sneakers of these two who are coming on now. I don't even like to admit that I was touched by the cancer bug, because these two individuals, I'm not even going to introduce them other than saying, hello, Jamil, hello, Ricky. Thank you for coming. And why don't you start by sharing a little bit of your life story with us? Because I don't want to reveal anything, because the reveals are just so good and they just keep coming.
All right, Pat. Well, again, thank you for having us on. I'm Rick Rivers. Ricky, either one works fine. And my cancer journey, my health journey kind of starts when I was 18 years old. At high school, Penwood High School, Lansdowne, PA.
Stop. I'm interrupted. I'm stopping. We're at the same high school.
Yes.
We graduated from the same high school.
Yes.
It was just amazing. I find this out. I think, wow.
Yep. So here I am, 18 years old, and there's a blood drive, American Red Cross doing a blood drive. So I decided to see if I can help out. I volunteer, I give blood. A few weeks later, I get a letter back from the Red Cross stating that they can't use my blood due to elevated enzyme levels. So I took that to my primary, and they ran some tests. And over the course of about 2 years, they were able to diagnose me with a form of liver disease called PSC, which is primary sclerosing cholangitis. And at first, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I felt fine. I was on the wrestling team, so I was doing pretty good. And for 10 years, I was asymptomatic, so I had no signs of disease. However, that final year, it was around 2008, I noticed my health really started to decline. Jaundice was starting to come, eyes, skin, fatigue. So the doctors have been keeping an eye on me every year, doing blood work to see how the progression was going. And then finally 2009 comes around. My condition had progressed so much that I needed a liver transplant. So here we go, stage one of my process here. I get a liver transplant in 2009. And then after that, recuperating, getting strong again, and going about my life. At that time, I was banking and finance and insurance was really my background. 2008, I kind of decided, 2009, decided to change it up. Wanted to do something that would be so impactful by the economy. I went to automotive technology. So I was in the automotive industry, and I began working in that. 2012 comes around, and because I'm still going to the doctor regularly, still getting my tests, screening, stuff like that, and because there's a small percentage of patients with primary sclerosing cholangitis also develop ulcerative colitis as well. Unfortunately, I was part of those few that did get ulcerative colitis. So here I am being treated for ulcerative colitis, medications for anti-rejection from a liver transplant. Doctors find during a colonoscopy that I had cells that were beginning to form oddly to them. So with scraping, with samples, specimens taken, they were able to find that, oh, sir, you have colon cancer. And at the time, I was taken by surprise because I really didn't know that my family history was something that was involved with colon cancer. My grandfather, my dad's father, actually had passed because of colon cancer, but unfortunately it wasn't really talked about in my family that much. So I wasn't aware that that's something I had to really look out for, nor inform my doctors that that was something that they should really be looking out for as well. And at the time I was in my early 30s. So, you know, if it wasn't for the UC, then they really wouldn't have been checking anyway. And here we go, we found colon cancer. So in 2012, I had a total colectomy. Now that means I had my entire colon removed. And when they're doing the biopsy of my colon, they realized if they were able to actually go further with the colonoscopy, they would have found that further within the colon was a lot stronger signs of cancer. And it was a good thing that I had the colectomy, because otherwise it could have been a lot worse than it actually was. And had I not gotten it tested earlier for it and had maintained a constant vigilance of watching it, then by the time it would have been found, I would have been a lot worse off. So here we are at 2012. Again, same process. All right, I gotta get back in shape. I gotta get it together.
So what did you do to get in shape?
I'm a lifelong practitioner of martial arts and meditation, holistic lifestyle. So I'm constantly moving. My meditation practice is something that is very ingrained in my daily life. I practice mindfulness meditation as my key form of meditation. And with that, with proper eating habits, with organic foods, natural foods, regular exercise routines, I was able to build myself up and get myself strong again relatively short amount of time. And so here, 2012, moving forward now, back at work. And before you know it, 2018 comes and my wife finds out that now she has cancer. She was diagnosed with metastatic cancer from the start.
Stage 4.
Yes. So that's 2018. So here she has been my caretaker all these years, helping me out with all my medical issues. And now she's hit with it. Now the roles are reversed. Now I'm taking care of her. I'm also maintaining myself.
So you had, up until 2018, Jamil was your caretaker. You had a liver transplant and colonoscopy.
Colonectomy.
Where your colon was removed after colon cancer. And you exercised health and energy through active living every day. You were a healed advocate before
Yes.
we even had healed. And now 2018 comes around. And before we go back to you, Rick, let's switch seats. Jamil, what happened?
Rewind a little bit, 2015.
Oh.
So while all this was going on, we got together in 2005. 2009, he has his liver transplant. We're not even married yet, but still was able to be his caregiver and all that through that. Gets his liver transplant. 2011, we get married. 2011, we have our first child together. And then 2012, we have our youngest son. And then, of course, 2012, he gets diagnosed with colon cancer. Then 2015, I get pregnant with twins and I have a miscarriage. And so my, body had gotten ready for the twins and then I lost them. And then I had one breast that pretty much went back to normal. The right breast was still, just texturally and visually, it looked different. And I mentioned it to my OBGYN and she thought, well, that was always the overactive breast. That was the one that always produced the most milk. Probably just a black milk duct, don't worry about it, not too big of a deal. Fast forward to 2018, wintertime, we just moved into our new house. Everyone gets their colds and coughs since we have, little ones who always bring in new germs in the house. My turn comes, my cough and cold doesn't go away. And so I'm just constantly hacking and coughing for about a month, go to my primary doctor and say, hey, I have this cough that's lingering. They try to give me an antibiotic first. That didn't help. Then they gave me an asthma pump. That didn't help. So I then asked for a chest scan and I also asked for an ultrasound just because I had this lingering pinch. It wasn't really painful, but I knew that, well, gallbladder and appendicitis issues run in my family as well. So let me try to, get ahead of it if it is that. And going to get the chest scan and the ultrasound revealed that I actually had lesions all over my body. So diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer once they did all the additional testing, and it had spread all over my body besides my, except for my brain and my spine. And so, of course, I was catapulted into this cancer world, not even thinking that it was possible for my kids to have two parents with cancer. And so ultimately, I automatically thought of them. And it was just, devastating to think that, oh, wow, we have now, or who's going to take care of the kids? I was always thinking, well, I'm the caregiver. If his cancer were to happen to come back or something like that, or if his liver condition progressed and got worse, at least I'm the healthy one and I'll be here, to take care of the kids. And now I have stage 4 breast cancer from the beginning, under the age of 40. So actually prior to what the recommended screening would be, it was a month before my 40th birthday that I was diagnosed with state, and no signs or symptoms, no pain or anything like that, and just already had breast cancer that had spread all over my body.
So normally you would be one of what Natasha calls the unworried well, but you were worried. You decided that there was something not right and you
Yeah, I think
wanted
that
more
was God.
tests.
I think that was God just telling me, putting that in my head to say, continue to press, continue to ask, continue to push. And I knew that something was going on because it just didn't make sense for me to be constantly coughing, for a month, with nothing really providing a solution to and so I did have cancer in my lungs, I had cancer in my liver, it had spread all over.
And what were you doing at the time relative to employment?
Oh, well, I was working as the chief financial officer of a nonprofit organization that's pretty prominent in Philadelphia, that does educational programming. And so busy mom, executive, with and everything. And the thing is that I had just started that job 5 months prior, and everyone's on my employer benefits, so I didn't think that I could stop working. And so when they told me you have to have chemotherapy, I pretty much said, well, I have to keep working, especially because Rick, he was on my benefits, the kids are on my benefits, and I had always read that cancer can be such a taxing financial cost on families, and as you're going through cancer treatment. So I thought it would be best to try, and I saw also how long it took for his disability to be approved and completed and all of that. And so I just thought, well, I have to keep working, and I did.
So you just kept taking care of business.
Right.
But during the chemotherapy, how many months did that last?
12. So I did
12.
Yep. So did all those rounds of chemotherapy for a year. And then I also pushed to have my ovaries removed because I have a hormone positive breast cancer. And typically they don't remove the ovaries or recommend that. They usually use a treatment to chemically suppress the hormone production in the body. But I thought, well, I'm finished having the kids. This is pretty much the mothership. Let's take out the ovaries so that the cancer doesn't have anything to give it fuel.
So Jamil, while you were getting chemotherapy along 12 months and still working, what were the side effects, the symptoms that you felt? There had to be fatigue.
Oh, yes, tremendous fatigue. I remember when I first, what I always think is so funny is when prior to the diagnosis, I felt absolutely fine. But when I was being treated for breast cancer, the chemotherapy, I felt like I was put in a barrel and rolled down a mountain or beat with a bat. And so, so I always thought, well, oh, wow, I felt so great prior to when the cancer was, and now that I'm getting the treatment, I feel horrible. But I knew because how bad I felt. And then I also saw just the fear in our kids' faces when they saw that I was just, on the couch, couldn't move, having nausea. It was bad enough I lost my hair. I thought, well, I can't have, this be their world. And I was always very conscious of making sure that they weren't traumatized by everything that they were seeing. And so I used the American Cancer Society to pick me up from work, take me to chemo treatments, and then pick me up from the hospital and take me home, because I didn't want them to have that memory of their dad pulling them into the van and then going to go pick up mommy. Wow. She's sick. So that was a big help to me that American Cancer Society had those rides that could take me to and from. And that didn't have to be something that was part of their world, because I wanted their day-to-day experience to be the same as much as possible. But that's where I learned about integrative therapies.
Before we get to integrative therapies, and I really want to hear your take on this, because obviously you look wonderful. You glazed over very smoothly that the ACS helped you
Yes.
take you from work to chemo. That
Yeah.
means that not only were you sick and nauseous and fatigued, you were still working.
Yeah.
And how was work responding to your diagnosis?
Well, in the past, I had been fired for being pregnant, so I was a little paranoid since I had just started that job 5 months prior. And they're a great set of people. They probably would have given me the leave and everything, even though it hadn't been the full 12 months for the FMLA that you're usually eligible for. But I didn't want them to also just, they didn't know me yet. They didn't know my work ethic or how well I do my job. And so I wanted to prove that. So when I found out that I had breast cancer, and I felt like I needed to keep my job, keep my income, and keep our benefits, I just decided, well, let's see what happens. You know, my family said, you know, you're not going to be able to work and go through chemotherapy. But I'm a Taurus, I'm pretty stubborn. So I just said, well, you know, let's see what happens. So I just got my eyebrows tattooed, and then Rick shaved my head. The second time, my sister did it the first time, and then I had a little hair grow back and he shaved it again. And then I just put on a wig and went to work.
The entire time you worked, and they never knew about it.
Nope.
Wow. And we know how hard it is to get an athlete back on the court, field, or ice with a little bone bruise. Wow. So let's go back to you, Rick, because you've had a liver transplant and you've had colon cancer, and now your wife trumps you by having stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So you say, no,
I'll show you
some more aces up my
watch
sleeve.
this.
Yeah.
So 2018 was a very tumultuous year, and 2019 comes around and it's my turn again. So again, I've constantly been getting monitored, blood work every 3 to 4 months, MRIs, CAT scans, everything that they're doing to monitor my current condition, making sure the transplant is good, making sure the colon cancer isn't coming back. And with all these tests, they find another cancer. Now this one is on my left kidney. And had it not been for all these other tests and screens that I'm being consistent with and having a great team at the hospital, I wouldn't have found it. And because again, no signs, no symptoms, wasn't sick. I was actively in martial arts still. I'm very active, moving around all the time. And I get a call one day and they say, Mr. Rivers, we found cancer on your left kidney. And it was, this time when I got that call, it wasn't quite as bad. I was like, all right, well, what are we gonna do about it? It didn't floor me. I mean, I've been through enough to know that, all right, well, there's things that can be done. So what are we gonna do? What's the plan of action? So I set my appointment to have a surgery, a partial nephrectomy, which is just part of my kidney was taken where the tumor was. So I went and got that done, and here we go again. Time to rebuild, time to get healthy again and get back to living. So again, the whole healed process all over again. And here I am now.
I know that to look at the two of you going through such physical trauma and being so mentally and spiritually strong, with the addition of integrated medicine or holistic methods, because I would like to share with our community what you found effective through your personal experiences. These aren't beliefs. See, I'm not about beliefs.
Yeah.
Beliefs are just thoughts you believe to be true. Personal experience is the test of reality. And through your own experiences, you've tested a variety of integrative methods. Please share with us.
Right. So with me, a lot of mine focuses around meditation. Mine is a lot with meditation as far as different forms. Like my daily routine with meditation is both mindfulness and it is through martial arts. So meditation through movement, and as always breathing. So whatever you're doing, focusing on the breath. It's nice and easy. Energy in, energy out. So meditation.
Being with your breath as you're breathing, being with it.
Right, exactly. And it's whether it's, like I said, whether it's actual mindfulness, whether it is my martial arts, or if it's gardening. I have a garden that I've maintained for years. It's always been a part of my routine every year. tilling the soil, getting the plants together, everything right, watering, it's all part of the routine. And actually this year, I actually planted blueberries. I just wanted to put that in there too. But yeah, all of these things are part of my daily routine.
So let me just touch on that before we go back to Jamil. Gardening is a beautiful way to have active living. It doesn't have to be on a bicycle for 20 minutes in your basement. Right. This is truly, and that's one of the 7 arts of Zen, gardening. Mm-hmm. That's one of bonsai, to be honest with you, is do you do bonsai?
That's actually my business now.
No, wait, stop. That I didn't see anything on that. What I just know that archery, the tea ceremony, mm-hmm. Calligraphy, which I do, but gardening, bonsai in gardening is like one of the 7 arts of Zen. So tell me about bonsai.
Yes, so I actually own and operate a store called Bonsai Creek, and the name is derived from one of my my main things that I do and provide, which are bonsai trees.
I'm buying one. You tell. How do we do this? How do we buy one? How do we get one of your bonsai trees?
Sure. Like I said, Bonsai Creek. BonsaiCreek.com is my website, and you will see. And the store, the site is dedicated toward informing individuals like ourselves who are going through something, whether it's mental, physical, what kind of ailments. It's all about incorporating that holistic lifestyle into your daily routine and giving people information about whether it's food, whether it's meditation, how to find the right meditation, accessories for meditation, where they're mala beads or aromatherapy.
Does this all come through bonsaitree.com?
Bonsai Creek. Bonsai Creek.
No, yes. Bonsai Creek.
.com.
Bonsai Creek. I got it.
Yep. And I routinely write articles pertaining to all different types of practices that can help with finding contentment, finding fulfillment, finding strength while you may be going through something that you thought you couldn't, because you don't really know who you are until you have to test yourself. Yep. And how you come out the other end. You've learned something about yourself. You've found strength in yourself. So that's what it's all about. Yep.
Man, oh man, I don't know what to say. It's wonderful. Jamil, give us some insights on your program.
I am all in it. So I do believe that you have to allow the cancer drugs to do its job. And of course, I'm stage 4, so I'm continuing to receive treatments. I'm on oral therapy now, now that the chemotherapy is done. But I do everything. So of course, I started incorporating supplements and exercise. And as Rick mentioned, we eat organic food primarily. We try to always think about just what we're, ingesting body-wise and fluids and drinks, and then also skin. So certain products I don't put on my skin, especially because since I have a hormone-positive breast cancer, there's certain chemicals and within products that will prompt a hormonal response in the body. And so I don't want any of that because I want that sufficiently shut down. I definitely use acupuncture and meditation. I typically do a morning practice and also meditate in the shower for the most part. And then I have a crystal practice that I use and, revitalize those in the sun. I wear my healing gemstones every day. I use acupuncture and massage and Reiki, light therapy, Tai Chi and Qigong and yoga. And so that's what I've incorporated in my day-to-day. Also, anytime we have a way that we can hike in the woods, we do that because, of course, there's a element that evokes from trees that actually suppresses cancer.
Shinryu yoku is called forest bathing in Japanese.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so we believe that, every little bit helps. And so, my cancer is still trying to get a leg up all the time because I am metastatic. It's still in the body. It's suppressed where I don't have any current solid tumors, but, everything that I can attack it with where it's not going to get that, that cancer card isn't able to go. So flattening the tires, taking the fuel out the tank, putting a block in front of the car, whatever I need to do so it doesn't get a leg up. And so I throw everything at it.
So Jamil, you said you're all in, but I want to just touch base on one or two of those ins. Supplements. Can you give us some specific on the supplements that you take?
Yeah, so I know that, fatigue is definitely a side effect of the cancer treatments. Neuropathy, that's also a big side effect that comes with treatments. And so I take tart cherry in pill form, which actually makes sure that I don't have any numbness or neuropathy as part of the side effects, but they sell it in pill form as well, which is easier for me. Also, I take vitamin D3, which is really important. Also,
I take
melatonin.
that one. I don't know tart cherry, but I take vitamin D3.
Okay. Melatonin, I do take that. It's a cancer suppressor, and it also helps me, make sure I get sufficient sleep for that healing process. I tend to take all of my pills at night because I feel like I want it to do its job at night while everything is kind of like incubating as I'm sleeping, and it's doing that whole healing process. So I do take
Because
that at night.
obviously nothing's going to keep you down during the day.
Right.
There's no way.
Exactly.
How about Qigong? Like when do you do your Qigong activity?
Well, typically that's when I'm going to, there's a center that's downtown that has yoga, Tai Chi, acupuncture, and Qigong. And so typically if I'm getting acupuncture, I participate in that as well. And it's still going, acupuncture was considered to be an essential service. So they're still open.
Geez, I think it's fabulous. Now people may think, it's woo-woo, the Qigong or like Tai Chi or acupuncture. But if everyone realizes they have the life force within them, the life force. Now, if you just put your hands out in front of you, everyone, just put your hands out in front of you, palms up, and close your eyes. How do you know your hands are still there? You can feel. Now open your eyes. You can feel how do you feel they're out there? Through the chi, through that life force, that energy that's circulating. And what Jamil's doing is using that life force to help with the healing and the relaxation and the serenity that's part of our nature. Oh, I think that's wonderful. Now, what would you like to leave our community as you got to be the all-star couple of the millennium, as far as I'm concerned? Like 3 different cancers, metastatic cancers, as well as someone else's liver. Like what?
Yeah.
Okay. Like what else is there? And look at the attitude. Like, do you feel down at all?
Oh, I mean, we take it one day at a time. And I do think your outlook is really key to staying on that, continuum of care. And for me, it's like not having it. And, and if there still happens, I've been clear now for 2.5 years, but if I do have a bad scan in one of these, months, I get them every 3 months, then you face it and you deal with it as it comes. And so we're, in solidarity together. We support each other. We're caregivers to each other. We have each other's back. We support each other in everything that we do. And I think that empowers us to have that jetpack on our back to continue to just take it day by day.
Oh, a jetpack on your back. Say, normally we have questions from the audience, from the community, but we don't only have a couple more minutes. And since Natasha's here and you talk so important about screening, Natasha, come on.
I wanted to ask you, I've met Jamil before. Jamil, could you share just how this has become a passion for you on reaching out to other cancer survivors within your community as a survivor? I've talked to Pat about this, how important it is for Rick and Jamil to share their story, because we want to see more people of color, more people from the Black community to say, we are surviving cancer. They're coming with their story, they are surviving, they're thriving from cancer. It's so important for folks to understand that it's not a death sentence. They are living their lives to the fullest. So I appreciate you sharing your story, but Jamil, just share just how you've really taken this on as kind of a personal passion of yours as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do it for selfish reasons. I say all the time, because I'm trying to be here for my kids. And so anytime I have a platform to share what people need to understand, and the reason why me and Natasha have met before is because part of my advocacy as a cancer patient is I'm really pushing for, eliminating disparities when it comes to Black women, because Black women are dying at a 40% higher rate from breast cancer. And we actually have a 71% likelihood of dying from breast cancer in comparison to white women. And
Wow.
so, I started women started coming into my chemo room and saying, hey, you seem to be doing okay. Can you share what you know? And so now it's just grown into a movement. I launched my own nonprofit organization called the Chrysalis Initiative. which is the chrysalisinitiative.org. And we're making sure that patients of color, including Black women, get standard quality care because of just disrupting the bias and racism in the cancer setting. And so it's really, really important. And we're projected to serve, thousands of women this year. And every single one of them, they're extending their lives, they're receiving quality standard of care. And so, I'm very involved in the research when it comes to metastatic breast cancer, because that's really important. Also policy, equity, community. And so whenever I can share my story, Black women know that, yes, and even, other folks of other cultures and just the greater public and providers know that Black women do get breast cancer.
So I want Jamil and Rick and Natasha, since I have all three of you right on the platform, what else would you like to share? We talked about get screened. We talked about the unworried will. We talked about take every moment, take it as it is, put that jetpack on your back now and take care of business now. The screenings that you went through, all of the screenings that you went through demonstrated that you could attack this earlier. And you said that earlier, Natasha. What did you say?
The earlier you get screened, the earlier you're diagnosed and your treatment options are higher, right? And both Ricky and Jamil talked about their partnership and their relationship with their primary care. They both said going back and making appointments with their primary care when they knew something wasn't right. When they weren't feeling well, they knew something was a little off. Jamil talked about her OBGYN, which is a primary care provider and delivery for most women as well too, especially those within the childbearing years. It's so key. Have that medical home, have someone you can go to that's not just the emergency room, have someone you can just refer to and be an advocate for yourself. So Jamil talked about how she was an advocate for herself, how she talked about, she did her own research about the removal of her ovaries and understanding the hormones that are released from the ovaries, like those types of things, really becoming that advocate, doing your own research and understanding your diagnosis and really understanding your treatment, really becoming your best advocate. And this was really, really great. Both Jamil and Rick, you guys have definitely have really shown that, been a true example.
And I just want to follow up by saying, listen to your inner self.
Yeah.
You called it God, Jamil. That grace comes through you and tells you something's not right. Go and seek attention. And the screening may be negative. Okay. But if it continues, do it again. Find out until you don't have this unease within. That's grace. As you said, tickling you, saying, get a move on. And I just want to end by saying the chrysalisinitiative.org, chrysalisinitiative.org, and bonsaicreek.com.
Thank you.
Check them out, please. All of you. You can continue this conversation on Facebook at ACS Healed. And please, if you haven't registered, tell 2 people to come on acshealed.com, register, and be part of our community movement. Thank you all. See you next week. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.